We made it. We survived another winter break without Formula 1 and it's finally race week again. The 2025 season is kicking off down under this week, which for every 90s and 2000 kid growing up waking up at 5 in the morning just to watch some cars drive in circles is kind of a tradition coming back to life again. And to be honest, I think Melbourne should have infinite dibs on hosting the F1 season opener forever. We almost always had spectacular races at the Albert Park with loads of chaos and drama. However, with all those bangers we had in the past, I feel like we often overlooked the 2008 Australian GP, which was special to say the least. This race was pure madness, with only 6 drivers actually crossing the finish line and a podium that, little did we know back then, would once turn into Toto Wolff's worst nightmare. Let's take the time machine to travel back into the late 2000s to recap the chaotic season opener that would lead the way for an even more dramatic 2008 season. It was March of 2008. We all just came back from a well-deserved winter break after witnessing McLaren completely destroying themselves on several fronts during the 2007 season, and the Iceman himself picking up the pieces to crown himself as the last Ferrari world champion since then. But even though Kimi Räikkönen was probably drunk for at least 90 days straight in the winter break, he wasn't the center of attention coming into the race weekend. Fernando Alonso had left McLaren to rejoin his championship-winning team Renault, and McLaren themselves were under special scrutiny to make sure they would actually build their own cars from now on and refrain from being involved into some James Bond spy stuff. We were actually so innocent back then, believing that nothing could top the 27 season in a long time. Little did we know that Sao Paulo 2008 was coming up in just a few months. Anyway, Lewis Hamilton claimed the first pole position of the year, beating Robert Kubica in Q3 for second. His new old best friend, Alonso, only managed to qualify in P12, and Kimi Räikkönen's Ferrari was probably still hung over as well, since a fuel pump issue left him down in P16. When the lights went off for the first time on Sunday, the first seconds of the 2008 season actually went normal, before... Okay, let's all take a short break and inhale deeply. It will honestly take a moment to untangle what is about to happen next. Yeah, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. The most obvious issue was Felipe Massa just minding his own business, spinning into the wall at the first corner, which was actually just the beginning of his rather chaotic race that day. But behind him, carnage was about to unfold as Nelson Piquet Jr. sent Giancarlo Fisichella flying and straight into the gravel trap, ending his race, while Sebastian Vettel got spun by the Honda of Jenson Button. Kazuki Nakajima then couldn't avoid the spinning Toro Rosso of Vettel and crashed into him as well. You could argue that this was a quite normal lap 1 incident so far, but just seconds later, the other drivers around those 4 tangling cars were not catching up to the field in a civilized way and caused even more chaos. Mark Webber and Anthony Davidson also decided to take each other out in turn 3 while they were following the limping Nakajima. All of this obviously sent out the safety car to clean up the mess, and this gave us the chance to untangle what just happened. We had a ton of cars either retiring or trying to make their way back to the pits. But luckily, after the restart, we had a quite clean race for at least some laps. Hamilton and Kubica were still leading the race and they started to build up a gap up front. But Felipe Massa once again brought himself into the center of attention by testing Adrian Newey's lightweight Red Bull construction, making sure that David Coulthard would not finish the race that day. Once again, we had the safety car neutralizing the field, which flushed Räikkönen up the field to third, but that only lasted for 3 corners, as he seemed to totally forget that you actually need to brake before a corner in order to turn the car. He was falling down the order again, but at least he was still running, for the moment. Something you couldn't say about his teammate anymore. Massa retired with a technical failure, which was probably better that day, to be honest. In the meantime, Räikkönen was trying to make his way through the field again, which, to be honest, wasn't going too well either.
He won't, he's going to lose it! Stick a wheel on the grass, what's he doing out there?
Yeah, let's just move on for now. This was obviously good news for Timo Glock running right in front of him, because you don't really want to have a world champion in your back putting pressure on you, right? So, time to take it easy and bring the car home safe. Oh man, what was going on that day? So, after we had Timo Glock doing some kangaroo impressions, we of course had another safety car. During this safety car, Rubens Barrichello had to pit as he was running out of fuel. In case you didn't know, in 2008 it was illegal to pit under the safety car. Any infringement would earn you a stop-and-go penalty, which he then obviously received. But this apparently was not enough for him and Honda, as he received 2 more penalties. One for an unsafe release and the second one for leaving the pits while the red light was still on. Just for the records, he was later disqualified. Anyway, let's move on. We had 11 laps to go and half of the field eliminated at the time the race restarted. Now it was really just the time to bring the car home and not do any stupid moves. But that was apparently not possible for Nakajima and Kubica, as they both crashed into each other while still being behind the safety car. Kubica had to retire, shrinking the field down to 8 cars. At this stage, everyone still running would automatically end up in the points. Raikkonen and Bourdais, however, both retired with technical failures some laps later, which left us with only 6 cars still running. Meanwhile, Hamilton was still leading the race comfortably, at least someone who kept his cool that day. His new teammate, Heikki Kovalainen, was still fighting hard for P4 with Alonso. He managed to overtake him right before the final lap started, but he then accidentally hit, and I'm really not joking here, the pit limiter on the straight. Yeah, I know, you really cannot make that stuff up at this point anymore. Of course, Alonso passed him again, bringing home P4 in the end. Up in front, however, Hamilton clinched his first win of the season, followed by Nick Heidfeld and his future favorite teammate of all times, Nico Rosberg. Isn't it funny to see both of them on the podium like this? Good old times, I guess. The Australian Grand Prix in 2008 was a crazy one and just the beginning of an even crazier season. Do you actually still remember this race? Let me know in the comments if yes. I really hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.